and we are here with Brian McGrath, former kickboxer for K1, former commentator for K1, now kickboxer for Rise and commentator for Rise. Brian, thank you so much for your time. I sincerely appreciate you talking about the match.
Yeah, you bet, man. It's good to be back.
Let me ask, how do you feel that's finally happening, that all the dust is settled? It looks like a few days from now, we'll be finally getting it.
Man, it's awesome. You know, if you're in the know and you're in the scene, this is the match that everybody has been waiting for. Well, and really, you know, this match itself is awesome, but the whole card is just stacked. And it's really cool from my perspective, because I've worked for both organizations, but it essentially is a Rise versus K1 type setup. And those two organizations are just the top tier fighters in Japan. So you're finally getting these dream matches that, you know, that we've all thought about and wished would happen, are gonna, it's all coming to fruition. So it's really exciting. I can't wait.
It's going to be a loaded question, but I got to ask if you have a prediction for who wins and how the fight goes.
Man, I go back and forth with this. Did commentary in Tenshin's last fight. And then I, saw the exhibition from Takeru, and, I go back and forth. I would have to give a very small edge to Takeru. Under the 3 rounds, just his aggression and his power, I think, give him a slight edge. But there's totally a scenario that plays out where Tenshin is able to sort of outpoint him, hit and not get hit, and play that game. So I really don't know. I slight edge to Takeru. That's just me, but it's an amazing matchup because it could really go either way.
Do you think it'll go to the extension route, or do you think it's going to go to a third or be finished within then?
There is always, a chance that Takeru could finish it in the distance with his power. I don't think it's very likely. I think it does go to the extension. I definitely see that.
Who do you think is going to have the strength, or who's going to have the better kicking? Who do you think who has the stronger kicks with this match?
As far as the kick game goes, I think Tenshin would have a slight edge there. Takeru, he's very, very bread and butter, pressure, punch combinations, hard low kicks. He does have the great front kick. They both have a really good, like almost karate Japanese style kick game. I would, Tenshin, you got to give him the slight edge. He'll take the kicks a little higher, and sometimes he'll get a little bit fancier. But he's not going to have a lot of room to get too fancy. I think he's going to have to show Takeru like a ton of respect.
The other thing about Takeru is that he's a slow starter. Usually, he doesn't usually get going till the second rounds. Do you think he can do that with somebody like Tenshin, who's, as soon as the bell rings, Tenshin's kind of just like on?
I think yeah, Takeru's game plan is going to have to be, obviously, just he's gonna eat shots, and it's gonna happen, but he's gonna move forward, and he always does such a great job of attacking the body. And if he can put hands and knees and feet on Tenshin's body, I think the power and the aggression will make Tenshin very uncomfortable.
What do you think of also the way that these two, whenever they enter the ring, they're very different? You see Takeru, he's always smiling. He looks like he's having fun. Tenshin's very cold, dead serious. Do you think also what makes this fight interesting, apart of, that they're two of the best, if not the best in Japan, in the world right now, that also they're very two different personalities at heart?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for me, the most interesting thing about this whole matchup is definitely the style difference, the stylistic matchup here. But yeah, personality wise, Tenshin has had, he's the golden boy, and he's had so much success. And I think a lot of, amongst at least older Japanese fans, I think some people are They view Tenshin as having maybe got a little high on his own supply, if you know what I mean. Like he's
Yeah.
feeling a little bit, he's feeling himself, as my former commentating partner Phil would say. And Takeru just he's got a great work ethic. He's like had a ton of success as well. I don't, but you don't get the same his attitude and his personality doesn't have quite the same feel. So I think too, I side with Takeru a little bit because I just really like him as a person. Not that I don't like Tenshin. I think Takeru is probably has won over some people in that regard a little bit as well.
The other thing with this fight also is that Takeru seemingly is fighting for seems to be fighting for not only for himself but for K1. While I'm not so sure who Tenshin, I'm sure I'm probably Tenshin's fighting for legacy himself, but it seems like Takeru has so much weight on his shoulders of who he's fighting for. Who do you think has more to lose when it comes to an L in this match?
Well, I mean, the deal with Tenshin, being undefeated,
and also going to boxing as well. He's also going to boxing. I'm sure he doesn't want to lose his last match before he goes into pro boxing.
Yes. I think with the record, although Tenshin did have that exhibition with Floyd Mayweather, that's really not part of this deal. I think probably, I mean, it's hard to say because yes, from here, Tenshin is going to blast off into a whole nother career. So you don't want to lose, your last match in kickboxing right before you kick things off in boxing. But I do feel like with Takeru, especially because where he goes from here is kind of up in the air. He's carrying K1. I think that the story for Takeru does have a little bit more weight, but I think for Tenshin, definitely like keeping that undefeated record is really important.
One of the ways that this match is being promoted as both the end of an era, end of a generation, and the beginning of a new generation. Who do you think can be the next people that, presuming that Takeru does retire, and then Tenshin go into box and do pro boxing? Who do you think are the next people that can take over the mantle for the respective promotions?
I mean, that's a great question. I do
if
think
there is anybody, if there's nobody, you can say that as well.
Well, I mean, it's hard to find, and this is also contingent. It's very important that the organization, they play a big role in this too, like how they push someone, how they create the story. I've been won over very much by Kazane, and his last fight with Tenshin was great. I thought he did so well. And I think he's got because he's so raw and it's like his performances are so visceral that there is definitely some big star power there. Actually, the matchup that I'm really looking forward to, besides the main event, Kaito and Noidi. I think there's, Kaito too. He's kind of a little bit more stoic and quiet, but if he has like an impressive win over Noidi, he doesn't have to have a lot of that mic game because his skills will speak for themselves. So yeah, I could see Kazane. On the other hand, if Noidi wins, all that he has left is to fight people outside of Japan. So that right there elevates his status as well.
Now, with the fight happening, with the match happening, do you feel it's a little bit bittersweet? And I'm going to connect this to when the last Harry Potter movie, Deathly Hallows Part 2 came out. And there were people who were making videos about saying, this is now the end of my childhood. This is now does this feel kind of bittersweet? And as a kickboxing person, who pro kickboxer, coach, commentator for both organizations, does this kind of feel almost kind of a little bit sad that the fight is happening in a way, because it kind of just feels like an end?
Not for myself. I am just extremely excited that they got this thing together because I never thought it would really happen. I would hope that this could be a springboard into better things for kickboxing. I mean, it's still hugely popular back in Japan, but it hasn't taken hold abroad like, like I've always imagined it would. So I hope that this is just a builder of momentum that we can, carry forward, and that it just does better things for kickboxing. And really, more matches like this need to happen.
So obviously, you probably, as you know, there's no international streaming going on. Sounds like there's a lot of people to blame in that case, but I'm just curious to know, what do you think about that whole thing that you probably have people here that want to see the fights and they can't watch it. So what do you think about this, about it not getting international distribution? If you have any thoughts?
Well, it's just a huge missed opportunity. Yeah, it's such a bummer. I don't know. I mean, yeah, what can you say? Like, it's really disappointing. That being said, there aren't as many people that are in the know about this match. So I just hope, someone like Rise, who is really trying to tackle international distribution and like get their fighters' names known outside of Japan. I just hope, that I can help out with that, and that, help reach fans outside of Japan, and that the sport can continue to grow. And yeah, not being internationally distributed it's unacceptable. So yeah, so the ball has been dropped. It's really disappointing.
I know you mentioned some of the other fights you're looking forward to. Any other fights besides Nori and Kaito? Because there's 100 fights on this card. So I mean, is there any other ones that like you're so excited for?
I mean, that one is awesome. I'm so stoked for that fight. But I also, I train with Gonapa. I spent a lot of time with him. He is such a hard worker, and so I'm really excited to watch his fight. I'm, like you said, man, the whole card is so stacked. I'll definitely be watching for Gonapa. And I mean, but the Kaito Noedi fight that's what I really have my eyeball on.
Now I'm curious to know, is there anybody who didn't get on this card who you're like, ah, man, I wish they could, that person, I'm a fan theirs, I wish they could have gotten a shot on the match?
Well, they announced the first half and they hadn't announced the second half. And so we're all kind of thinking like, what about Kaito and Noidi for a while? But then as far as I know, Ampo Rukia is not on the card.
Ampo is on the card. He is on the card.
He is on the card.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let me double check who he's fighting. I haven't memorized the entire card myself because there's 100 people on this card.
Well, yeah, I've been out of the country too. I'm back in the States, so I haven't seen.
He's taking on Yamada Kosei.
Okay, so they did get him a match.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, and back to your other question real quick. I'm also very excited. I've become a big fan of Yaman. And his little finger, his little glove, his MMA, open finger match is going to be really interesting. But yeah, I mean, beyond that, I think they've done a really good job. I haven't checked out. I get back to Japan on the 18th, so I was going to sort of look through things again once I got back, but I'm not sure. I mean, I think they've done a pretty good job. I know when I left that Rukia wasn't on the card, but he is now. So I feel like they've filled in all the holes.
Did you see the whole thing of Yaman and Ashizawa at the press conference?
Yes, I knew it would be exactly like that. I knew exactly what they're going to do, but I find that to be really interesting. But what I like about Yaman the most is, he has that persona, but how good he is in the ring and how he really has so much experience now kickboxing in the MMA gloves. He's going to be tough to beat.
So when you get back to Japan, I'm assuming you're going to be watching it on TV. You won't be going to the arena. You're not the person who spent the $30,000 for front row seats.
No, I will not be going live. Unfortunately, Stuart and I aren't doing the commentary, but I will definitely be watching it. Because this is an amazing card.
Do you think that this can possibly be one of the best kickboxing combat sports shows of all time? Like those old K1 show, probably best K1 show in recent time for me was probably K Festa from 2020, right before Japan closed down. Do you think this card can reach that level or even surpass it?
Oh man, yeah. I mean, anything can happen. But these are the best. I mean, this is the cream of the crop facing off. and because it's, every fighter is from an opposing organization. They're also carrying the weight, not just of their team, but of their organization. The Rise guys are going to want to win for Rise. The K1 guys are going to want to win for K1 because everybody wants to be top dog. So this has the potential to be an amazing and extremely elite, awesome card. And I'm just hoping that it can live up to that.
One of the last questions I have is if there's anything you want to say about the match, Takeru Tenshin. Any final thoughts? The floor is yours, Brian.
I just find stylistically this to be so interesting. Both guys have very different approaches, but they can both finish a fight in the distance. Makes it really interesting. They're both so good. Competing myself in the ring, I watch these guys fight and I'm just in awe. When I do commentary, sometimes I forget that I'm working because I'm getting to sit there and watch just this awesome, extremely high level competition. What both these guys can pull off in the ring is so, so hard to do. And I'm so impressed by both of them. And, someone's got to win. I definitely myself just give a slight edge to Takeru, but really, who knows? And that was what makes this so interesting, because both of these guys are kind of enigmas. When's this match going to happen? And, it's so hard. Neither of them really lose. And so they're both putting those records and, their legacies on the line. And I know that we could see the best form of both of them. We should see the best form of both of them, which as a fan is just extremely exciting.
I know you don't have a lot of social media, but you do have a gym in Roppongi, I think it is, right?
Yes, in Tokyo. Yes.
Yeah. So please plug your gym and whatever else you like to plug for people out there.
Well, Andrew, thank you so much. So I work at a gym. We've got 2 locations, one in Motoazabu, which is Roppongi, and then one in Higashiazabu, which is a very similar area. It's called Club 360. I've worked there for a long time. We've got a great crew, I've got great bosses, and we just have so much fun. We do a charity boxing event every year called Executive Fight Night. And we are, with the borders opening back up, we just are hoping to get, more and more people in the gym and to really grow the business. So yeah, if you happen to visit Tokyo and you're looking for some training in English, which is surprisingly difficult to find, hit us up, club360.jp. And we'd love to have you down.
And you need to get a Twitter soon so you can start plugging your Twitter. That's what probably everybody tells that, right? I
know I'm slow with Twitter. I'm nailing Instagram. Well, I wouldn't say I'm nailing it. I'm trying to, but I do need to get on Twitter. I need to do that. I've been putting that off too long.
But yeah, again, Brian, thank you so much for your time. Your analysis is great, and I'll be watching it somehow with the rest of everybody else around the world.
Man, thank you so much. And I just want to say I really appreciate what you do, getting the info of the fights in Japan, out to the rest of the world. And the work you do is really important, and it is an honor to always be on your show. Thanks for having me on, man. I appreciate it.
Next time you have a fight or you're commentating for Rise, hopefully we get you on again.
You bet, man. Thank you so much.
And I am here with LJ, the publisher of thefighter.net, and our former translator who helped, basically, I think did a lot more to help us expand than help make We Are Rizin Podcast what it is now. LJ, it's so great to hear from you again.
Hi, Andrew. It's really good to be talking to you again. Feels good to be, speaking to We Are Rizin Podcast. It's been a while.
As they say in Japanese, oishashiburi desu.
Oishashiburi desu, indeed.
Takeru and Tenshin, a fight that I'm pretty sure you've been wanting to see for a long time. I know you're a J-Kick fan. You love K1. You love Takeru. I don't know what your feelings on Tenshin are. Kind of like love, hate, or don't like him, or what's the feelings on Tenshin?
Oh, I don't think I dislike Tenshin, but having been a Takeru fan for a long time, and people who have been following my Twitter profile probably know that I don't make it so public these days, but you got to have Tenshin to make this dance work. So really excited. It feels surreal, to be honest. It's happening, in 7-8 days now. So
yeah, about seven. Well, yeah, June 19th. June 18th. Oh, this weekend, this Saturday
yeah.
/ Sunday.
Yeah.
And yeah, did you always think it was gonna happen, or were you just kind of like, it's one of those things that just can't happen because too many egos, too many cooks in the kitchen type thing?
I think even though I had been saying for a while that, let's believe in this fight, Takeru wants it, obviously, I understood that, he was totally determined and he probably wasn't willing to I guess, retire from his combat sports career without making this fight happen. I thought that, just with how powerful the I guess the bureaucracy is, right? I just didn't think it was going to happen. And I think in the press as well, on Tenshin's side, they were saying there were a lot of people who were on his side who didn't want to make this fight happen. So I think it is almost like a miracle that this worked out. But so yeah, I think it was a huge surprise for me when I heard on Christmas Eve.
What a bizarre day to also announce on Christmas Eve. That was like, it was like, oh, that Christmas Eve you decided to announce this stuff. I don't know. I thought that was very strange. That's usually not the time you announce big things. But I gotta have to ask, Takeru versus Tenshin, who do you think wins, and how does the fight go?
I don't usually like to do picks generally because I feel like even though I think, like, if I assess on a technical level, right, I usually think that this fighter would be more inclined to win. So I guess in this case, even though I'm not from like a technical assessment, I'm still going for Takeru because I feel like it'd be wrong for me to say otherwise.
Do you feel more of a connection with Takeru because you have been more focused on K1, or you enjoy K1 a lot?
I think it's because I've been following his career for longer than Tenshin, and I guess I don't know if I've actually talked about this to many people, but Takeru was also one of the reasons why I got into combat sports. So having known his desire to make combat sports accessible to people who weren't necessarily previously introduced to it, and watching his interviews, watching his fights, I think because I've been following his career over the years, this is definitely one where I'm going for Takeru rather than Tenshin.
Do you think this will go all 3 rounds, maybe extension, or can you see Takeru being the first person to ever finish Tenshin in his pro kickboxing career?
I think it will go all the way to the extension. Yeah, because Takeru is I think it's hard. It's hard for me to predict how the fight goes, but I think it will go all the way. Yeah, but we never know. I didn't expect him to rock Leona like he did in the last one. So I think we never know.
So I guess I'll also ask, what do you think about the rules? 3x3 rounds, 6-ounce gloves. Are you happy with this whole thing, or do you wish that, like, oh man, this is for such a special fight, make it 12, make it 10, 8 even, I don't know, or 5 minutes?
I think a lot of us were expecting 5 rounds. Like, I just thought that was a giver. So when they did announce 3 rounds, I was like, wow, that is a huge surprise. I think with the way, we always knew that, that was going to be quite a contested point. And, I think, it is what it is. I think the going with the one catch rule with Rice, I think that's all right. I mean, it's not something Tucker is used to, but he can probably adjust to it. It's not so bad. So I think overall, I think other than, the contested point, that is the way. I think, it is what it is.
Do you with this fight, I think it's being promoted as the end of a generation, but also the beginning of a new one. How do you feel like this is kind of like the end of a generation to yourself, like of this era of kickboxing?
Yeah, I think so. It's definitely Yeah, I think there's almost like a sense of, closure, I guess, with this fight. And it's like anything from this point onwards, it's really about pushing the new stars in K1, because I feel like even if Takeru loses or wins, he will retire from K1 after this fight. And, he's previously been the face of K1 and they need to pick someone else. Tenshin obviously going into boxing. They've got guys like, Shiratori and Haraguchi who are fighting on this card, but I don't think either of them have that star value that, Tenshin had. So these guys retiring from the scene is definitely, I think, is, an end of an era. And then hopefully seeing, guys like, Kaneko and, Haraguchi on this card, and with the sort of huge focus on this card as a whole, people can become accustomed to these sort of new faces to be representing their respective promotions from now onwards.
Is it a bittersweet feeling now that the fight is finally happening?
I think, yeah, it definitely feels really good. I don't know, maybe I'm jumping the gun in terms of your later questions, but I think one thing that's hugely disappointing is I thought, this is going to have a Fuji broadcast, it's going to have an international broadcast, people will be like, oh yeah, K1 and Rise is, great. People are actually watching, people who aren't, people who are casual fans, who don't know fighters other than, Takeru and Tenshin that well, like watching it and, getting to know these fighters. And, I thought this event would like spark an increase in fans, right? But not having and TV broadcast, not having that international broadcast, it's kind of concerning that perhaps after this event, it's not going to, kickboxing is just going to go on a decline potentially. But I guess, that's a problem for the promoters to solve and not for us, but that's just an observation from me at this point.
When you heard that there was no international stream, were you just like, not surprised, or were you, I guess, kind of furious that
no. No, I pretty much, it was, I was like, what the fuck? Like, actually, that's my reaction. That's pretty bad.
Oh, okay. It was not like, what the fuck? Like, or it was like, what the fuck? Like that type of.
Yeah. Like literally how I tweeted, I was like, for fuck's sake, like you like, for real? Because I had been talking to people as well, who were closer to the promotions, and they're like, oh yeah, we're getting a broadcast, like, so like, we're getting it sorted out. And I was like, yeah, because they can't secure Fuji TV deal like 2 weeks before the fight, right? I was like, okay, we'll just get live now, like 5 days beforehand, and that's just what it will be. And then they're like, oh, actually, there's no broadcast. And I'm like, for fuck's sake, right? Like, we've been waiting this whole time, and you've got like really shitty shows having like international pay-per-views, like, and like even like Rizin Landmark. I'm not saying Rizin Landmark is shit, but like, you know what I mean? Like, if we can get that on broadcast, like, and we're not getting Tenshin and Takeru, like, I just thought that was ridiculous. But
what do you who do you think is the parties at blame? Is it kind of everybody involved in this? Do you think it's Abima, which supposedly are actually the people, or do you think it's just a Japanese business mentality of just how Japanese business has been around, has dealt with international customers for a long time?
I reckon there's a more complex problem rather than, oh, they don't care about us international fans because there's only, so many of us, right? I think they'll probably just break down in negotiations. And I don't know, I'm thinking maybe if they had planned this earlier, they could have negated those risks and, thought about things better. But I guess we never know for sure why we couldn't get a pay-per-view sorted out. It'd be nice to know, I think, but just got to give up and embrace the VPNs now.
With Takeru most likely going to retire, I'm assuming you'll still be watching K1. You'll still be paying attention to him regardless if he's not there.
Yeah, definitely. I'll still be watching J-Kick.
Who right now, do you think, you mentioned names like Shiratori, Haraguchi, I forgot the K1 names you just mentioned.
Kaneko.
Oh, Kaneko.
Yeah.
Do you think these guys can potentially reach levels like Tenshin and Takeru and become just these mega faces for their promotions?
It's hard, eh? Just because, you know, especially someone like Tenshin, he's just like, you know, prodigy, right? You know, unmatched kind of by anyone else in the industry. To reach that level that he has, I think it's almost impossible. Just with his fight record as well. I think Naraka, right, for a while, people saying, you know, he could be the next Tenshin. But in terms of just seeing the kind of opponents he's fighting and seeing how he's not being promoted that heavily, you know, in Rise, and he's not fighting in Rise either. It might be difficult for him to reach Tenshin status. But I reckon if he does grow, like if he he's trying to gain weight anyway to, you know, fight in the more popular classes. I think there's a potential for him to reach Tenshin's level. In terms of K1, I think Kaneko kind of fits the bill of fits exactly kind of what the kind of model that the kind of person that K1 wants to promote. You know, he's got that bad boy aura, he's good looking, he's you know, fights recklessly. I think they'd really like to promote him as the next Takeru. And then there's Gunji as well, I guess, who also fits that sort of stock type character that K1 likes. So there is potential, but again, I think it's just hard to say at this point, especially if the promotions are gonna decline. It's gonna be difficult to reach the level of Tenshin and Takeru.
Is there anybody on the that you know of, or from what you know of the card so far, is there anybody who you think is missing? Like we used to like we have no Koji, no Taiga. I'm trying to think of who else. Oh, actually, you brought up Ndaka. There's no Ndaka on this card, and they have people from that are outside Rise in K1. Was there any names that you think should have been on this card?
I think it would been nice to have Ndaka on this card. I think I'm totally good with Cozy not being there. I think he could be on commentary or something. I mean, I like Cozy, but you know, I just don't think he should be on this card. Yeah, maybe just Ndaka. That would have been good. I feel like he was supposed to fight someone. I can't remember who it was, but it didn't end up happening.
He was supposed to fight Tenshin last year for New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
But we don't speak on that. We don't speak on that.
No.
So what do you? Are there any other fights that you are familiar with on the card, that you know of offhand?
I think I generally familiar with most of the fighters. I mean, I guess in terms of what I'm excited about,
sorry, if there was one other fight besides Sakura Tenshin, like that stuck out for you.
There's quite a few, but maybe I'll just go like Suzuki, Kaneko. I think Leona is always great fun to watch. So Leona and Nakamura-kan, I think that could be a really exciting one. Hopefully there'll be a knockout on that. And Noiri is always amazing to watch. So Noiri, Kaido, and I think Haraguchi, Yamazaki. I think everyone's been talking about that for a while, so it's nice to see that being realized, even though Yamazaki had that devastating loss recently.
In talking to people and doing the pre-show of Karev, it's like the one name that keeps getting repeated is Nori. Everybody's saying you gotta watch Nori. You gotta watch Nori. Oh, I love Nori. Charles Oliveira is apparently a fan of Nori. So I think by the time this show is over, I'm gonna remember more about Nori than I am the main event.
Yeah, it's good.
And do you think this show can potentially be like maybe one of the best of the year, or one of the best of all time if everything goes right?
I definitely think so. Yeah, I think you've got some, the best from Rise and K1 fighting on this card. It's I think there's no way it's gonna flop. And I feel like kickboxing cards as well also tend to meet our expectations more so than MMA cards. Like MMA cards on paper, right? We're like, yeah, this looks good, and then we're watching it and we're like, shit, these are like, we're getting like, we're getting like decisions for like the first 6 fights or something. I feel like it's gonna be like nicely paced, this one. It's a good combination of fight styles. I think I forgot to mention earlier, one of the less serious bouts, I think, Yaman versus Ashizawa. That's definitely one I'm looking forward to.
What do you think of their whole thing at the press conference?
Oh, it's hilarious.
That guy who tackled or who did the suplex slam to Yaman's got to become an MMA fighter at some point. I've never seen that guy. Security guards never do their jobs at these things, and that guy had some sixth sense running in there and going after Yaman. No, I think that fight's gonna be very interesting. I think the Khan Nakamura and Pettis, just because Khan Nakamura is kind of a little bit of a psycho, and being that he's a fighter from Osaka who has tattoos. So everybody who's from Osaka who has tattoos is a little bit crazy. I seem to feel. Are you going to look forward to Tenshin's boxing career? Is that something that you're going to pay attention to, or after this, it's like, no interest in really like what Tenshin's doing anymore?
I might follow him very casually, but I don't think I'll be that interested as I have been in his kickboxing career. Like, I'm going to be honest, I'm not the biggest boxing fan. So Tenshin going to boxing is not something that I've been excited about for a while.
Mm-hmm. But you will be excited when McGrath takes on Floyd Mayweather in a boxing match, right?
That's got to be a rumor, right? Well, like, where did that even come from?
That's how they get the Fuji TV deal back, and that's how they get the match back on television with that whole press conference, which I think goes down. I think that goes on tomorrow or later today.
Shit, really?
Yeah, they said June 13th.
Oh my god.
Be prepared. We'll have to see how what happens if social media will melt down over Mayweather getting another payday, an undeserved payday, in my personal opinion.
That's ridiculous. I guess one thing that I was also pissed about not having the international broadcast is when I talk about Tenshin to people, right, they're like, oh yeah, that kid who got knocked out by Mayweather. And then it's just like, it's sad that this is what people think of. That's the image they have of Tenshin. And if we had this, for everyone to watch internationally, then they probably would have, that's not the thing that that's not the image that they're gonna take away from the event. But yeah, okay.
I was joking with Luke that knowing how archaic sometimes Japanese businesses can be, I wouldn't have been surprised if they had put it on terrestrial pay-per-view in the United States, which like nobody has anymore. So I would have taken that. I would have gladly taken that than having to sail the 7 seas, which is looking like what we'll have to probably do at this point.
Yeah.
And you really think that Takeru is going to retire after this, regardless of the outcome?
It's just I can't imagine him fighting any other opponents in kickboxing if he does win against Tenshin. He has, talked about wanting to dabble in like Lethway, MMA. MMA, yes, I could see him having like an all right career, but with how popular he is, I think I talked about this with you. He was going on about how he wants to start from like amateur shooter and like really like do it properly, right? But with his sort of like star value, like he's not going to be fighting in shooter if he started in MMA. He's going to be like, the Rise is going to like throw him straight away into some fight where he's like fighting some opponent that's totally above his level, and then he'll get knocked out, and that's not the career we want to see with Takeru. So I feel like after he's done all those assessments, he's probably he's just going to say he's probably going to retire, I think. And he's been very open about his mental health struggles over the years. And I was reading his biography recently, actually, where he sort of opened it up even further to what he's been discussing before. He's been having these issues since the beginning of his kickboxing career, even before he joined K1. Actually, he was on antidepressants for about 6 years, I think, and then his panic disorder also came back when he was subject to those hateful comments online, a lot of harassment and that sort of thing. I think Takeru has done a lot, and it's maybe time for him to take a much needed break, I think, from the sport. But I mean, it is whatever he wants, right, at the end of the day. But I think I just wouldn't be surprised if he does retire.
Is that another reason why you feel you've had more connection with Takeru? Because he does seem like he's when my impression when I hear his translations, when I see how the way he speaks, he seems a lot more, I guess, human. Is that the word? Tenshin seems now like it's I don't like as a brand. Is that the right? It's like I feel like there's a branding with Tenshin, and there's something less authentic. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, I do understand what you mean. I think Tenshin seems Tenshin's very likable when you watch him on his YouTube videos and variety shows, but I think we haven't gotten a true glimpse into his mind when it comes to fighting. I'm not I don't really get a good idea of what's his motivations, why he continues to do this and that sort of thing, other than maybe the fact that he's insanely talented and gifted. So that's just the reason why he's doing it. With Takeru, I feel like it's easier for us to have a connection because he's got that more human background. He didn't start off gifted like Tenshin. He's worked really hard to where he is, and I think that's why I think a lot of people, I feel like they're generally speaking, public support, there's more for Takeru than Tenshin right now, perhaps because of that backstory.
But it's also what strikes me is also the different ways that they are when they're fighting. Takeru's smiling. Takeru looks like he's having fun. Tenshin is like stone faced, dead serious. Have you noticed that the difference in their energies when they fight?
Yeah, I have.
That's what also makes it I think an interesting fight as well. I mean, for historical purposes, but also just they are so divergent and they're two different people, incredibly two different people in the end. And I think that's also what sells this fight. Do you think that's also important for the fight as well? Is that they're just two different personalities, way different?
I think the different fight styles is definitely interesting. Yeah, other than taking away the context of their position in the promotions and the historical significance, just these two fighters against each other, I think it'll be a fun one.
As we come to our close with you, LJ, I just want to get any final thoughts you have about the match, Takeru Tenshin. Anything else? If you want to rant on a Bima, feel free to rant on a Bima if you want to. Go ahead. The floor is yours.
I'm just trying to think if there's anything else. I've said quite a fair bit.
You got to promote Takeru's albums because I learned that he's a singer as well.
I have to say I reckon Mikuru is a better singer than Takeru when it comes to fighters with good vocal skills. I rate Mikuru more than Takeru, but I guess for international fans who do want to find a way to watch this fight, I just recommend maybe getting a trial VPN, and then you just see if that VPN works for any other Beamer show. And then after you've tested that, I think it's time for you to make that assessment whether you want to risk $40 for a pay-per-view, which maybe end up being blocked on the day. But I've already taken that risk. I've purchased the pay-per-view. I've got my NordVPN, which does work. So
yeah, if I was a VPN company, if I saw what was going on, I would be like, oh my God, this is a market now. We gotta start advertising ourselves. Hey, want to watch Japanese MMA or kickboxing? Ours is a perfect VPN.
Yeah. No, Nord works for me personally. So
I've been recommended Express by another
really
listener. Yes, I've been told Express is that it lets you buy the Abima points or whatever those are called, the Abima dollars.
Oh, the credit cards will be, Abima usually takes international credit cards, so there's no problem to purchase the coins. But I've used Express before, and it has not worked.
Oh, really? Oh,
so I'd reckon just like always just do the free trial, yeah, and then just like, yeah, I paid Express and it did not work.
Okay, now you got me worried. Now I might have to just do the trial Nord. But no, LJ, appreciate you taking time. Thank you for the translations that you've done for us in the past. You'll be up live watching it with everybody else, I'm assuming.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll be on Twitter, so you can follow my my live updates, and if there's any like post-fight speeches, I'll be translating them. So.
Oh yes, and by the way, where can people follow you? All that you're doing.
Oh yeah, I'm on Twitter. So in small letters, Fourth Avenue. Shit, I've forgotten my
I think it was 420.
I don't know, Fourth Avenue 520.
Oh, 520. Oh, I said 420.
Not quite 420. 520. You can also follow me on the Fighter, the #fighter.net. And I'll just also make a plug. I recently assisted on Shinsuke's trailer for the match. You can find that on Shinsuke Visuals at Twitter. He's done amazing work on it. I only helped him a little bit with that one, but it looks really good, and I think it will help hype up everyone before the fight. So I hope everyone can see that.
And you also did an appearance with Luke, Apparatus, and Karev on, I think it was Dogman's podcast. That's correct.
Yeah, that's right. On Apparatus, Flatus, and the Karate Man was also on that.
Oh, yeah. Karate Pathfinder as well.
Yeah.
Where can people listen to that if they want to listen to that?
It's on SoundCloud, and I think it's called A Podcast About Kickboxing, where we just, talk shit about the entire card.
Oh, okay, great.
And in good ways.
Oh, good ways. Yeah, good. And again, thank you so much for your time, LJ.
No worries. Thanks, Andrew.
And we are here with Kyle from Combat Chronicles. Kyle, how are you?
I'm pretty good, mate. How are you?
Good. This is our first time talking. I'm really glad that, I follow you guys, and I follow what you've been doing for a long time, because I think you followed us and I followed you back. And so, I'm really glad that we got to talk about Takeru Tenshin and, have a first meeting ever.
Well, absolutely. Obviously, we've been talking for a while anyway, because on my prior account, when I was with the fight site, we followed each other then. And then...
Okay, I didn't know you were with the fight site. Okay.
Yeah, I was with the fight site before, and then I basically left, and then I came back and started Combat Chronicles. So yeah, we did follow each other before, and we talked here and there, and I was really happy and felt pretty privileged to be invited on. So thank you.
Just for anybody who's not familiar with you, tell us what you and Combat Chronicles do, what you guys put out there.
So basically, it is a one-man show. It's me now. That's probably one of the reasons I left the fight site. It was quite hard, sort of working within a team when sometimes you got life going on and you let other people down. So I started Combat Chronicles on my own, and essentially, it's a one-man podcast. There's a Patreon element to it as well, and I talk about all combat sports: boxing, MMA, kickboxing, a bit of Muay Thai as well. Not so much on pure grappling. That's not really my level of expertise, but about the history and about the present and future of all those sports, and just try and tell the stories of these fighters as best I can.
And so, what a time to talk. Literally, maybe the biggest fights in quite a long time, at least in kickboxing. Takeru versus Tenshin. Tell me your thoughts. Do you think this fight was ever going to happen, and how important is it to you as somebody who covers this and talks about this crazy sport?
I honestly was always optimistic that it would happen. As a long time boxing fan, there's a lot of fights. I mean, for me, I would describe Takeru Tenshin as the Mayweather Pacquiao kickboxing. It's a fight we had to wait a long time for, but it eventually happened. We need to sort of bash everybody's heads together and get them all in the same room, and eventually it would happen. And I'm happy to say that it is going to happen. What it means to me, I mean, I've probably been waiting for it for 4 or 5 years, maybe. There was a period of time where my kickboxing fandom wasn't as prominent as it used to be. Probably subsequent to the first sort of K1 death and the end of the K1 Max tournaments. And basically, yeah, I mean, these young Japanese fighters that they've got and the rosters on Rise and K1 sort of pulled me back in. It sort of coincided with the rise of Tenshin and Takeru. Tenshin took me a while to come around on because he was smashing ties that I was already a fan of. And I'm a bit of a Muay Thai purist. Took me a little bit of a while to come around to him. Now fully acknowledge how brilliant he is. With Takeru, it was love at first sight. So, yeah, really happy that it's finally happening. And, yeah, maybe I haven't been waiting as long as everyone else, but it's been a good, 4 or 5 years. And waiting for a fight like this, that's long enough.
So I got to also ask, because you did your own kind of solo little social media campaign after the unfortunate news of no international distribution of this card, and what motivated you to just go out there and be like, okay, I'm gonna tweet DAZN, BT Sports, fight live now. I'm gonna and even doing it to Tenshin and Takeru. What motivated you to do that?
Well, I'm not no big social media influencer, but every so often a tweet can get hot because I have people following me that have got bigger platforms. If they retweet, if they like, there's a better chance that more people will see it. I was just hopeful. I just thought, if I can get as many people as possible to see, and they can see that there's maybe one person in one of those offices goes, "What's this guy on about?" And he searches it and he goes, "Oh shit, maybe this is something we should be paying attention to." And my rationale was, a few years back, Asian Boxing, which is a fantastic site, managed to get the rights to a Kosei Tanaka boxing world title fight, and they got it on the fact that no one else wanted it internationally. They essentially got it for free. So my hope was that if just one of these people, one of these organisations got hold of the of Abama or Sakakibara, whoever's actually supposed to be running the show, K1 Rise, whoever, and said, "Look, no one else is going to take this. We'll take it off your hands, and we'll pay you X amount of money." I was just hopeful someone might do it, and unfortunately, I didn't get a single bite. So it seems it was all in vain. But I wouldn't change a thing. I was really, really glad with the response, because for me, it's a strange thing. This the outcry of people who want to see this fight shows to me that people do love kickboxing, and in a weird way, although this will potentially ruin any chance of kickboxing getting even bigger. All these people coming out the woodwork, and everyone, maybe new fans who are getting wrapped up in the excitement for the match, shows me that yes, there is still hope for the sport.
And so, I mean, who do you think's who do you think's to blame for this whole thing? Do you think it's just too many cooks in the kitchen? Do you think it's just Japanese combat sports things? Because this is a tale as old as time. With just Japanese distribution rights. Always been an issue for everything. Even not combat sports, anime, movies, everything.
Of course, I think it's idiosyncratic nature of Japanese business, which is still got its quirks. As anyone who's interested in Japanese culture will know, in the 70s and 80s, it was very forward thinking. Some people still see it as such, and yet in the majority of offices in Japan, they still like to use a fax machine. So, there are some strange quirks to Japanese business. Definitely, if you say too many cooks in the kitchen, well, if you've got 3 or 4 guys in there and 1 or 2 of them are, are particular about a certain thing, you've just got a greater chance of things going wrong. With Sakakibara and Rizin, has obviously got them a Fuji deal, and essentially there is an international deal. I think maybe Shingo deals with that, but you can get it. I think it used to be on Fight, but now it's on live now, and some people complain about that stream. But as a multi-time customer of that service, I found it absolutely perfect. So it's a shame that couldn't happen, and I think that the one thing you can say is we'll probably never find out what the real reason was, but yeah, I would probably suggest too many cooks in the kitchen. And if there was a Fuji deal, obviously that was going to be tape delayed anyway. I think people would just be more sort of happy that they would have had a chance to see it because someone would have got a stream. But this Abama pay-per-view is going to be a lot more difficult. So I think people are a bit despondent. And who's to blame? Not sure. But as I was just talking a minute ago about how everyone was so excited for this fight, and I've seen more than one person, I'm sure you have as well, go, do you know what? F it, I'm not even going to bother now. And that's a real shame. And, really getting people to get excited for this fight. And then you basically go, no, we don't want your fandom. Whoever's at fault, that's a crying shame.
Oh yeah, my co-host even said that he's so fed up, and he's like he's not gonna watch it live. At least he said he'll catch highlights or YouTube or whatever. It's whatever after the fact. But yeah, but more positively, let's talk about the card. Takeru Tenshin, flat out. Who do you think wins, and how do you think the fight goes?
It's tough.
Sorry, such a loaded question.
Yeah, it's real tough. Because there are some fights that I get really emotionally involved in, and in those fights, it's so hard. I've said this a million times, but on my own Twitter feed. But you should always try and separate fandom from your analysis. But there are certain fights that I get so enamored with. I go the opposite way. I don't go, yeah, my guy's going to win because X, Y, and Z. I just get more pessimistic. And I'm pessimistic that Takeru is going to be able to do what he needs to do to win this fight. So I'm leaning towards Tenshin. But there are other factors at play. Obviously, Tenshin's not quite, in my opinion, not been himself as of late. He's a lot more straight up, boxer orientated. Whereas before, he was well known for how dynamic he was, in and out movement, reflexive defense, kick heavy game, lots of it. And now he seems to have abandoned some of that. Will he turn it on for this fight? If he turns it back on again, I'm going to favour Tenshin. I think, he's had one eye on boxing. This is exactly the kind of fight that's going to make him pull it all back together. And I mean, the fact matter is, having tough fights with likes of Kazane and Suzuki, even if he was being a bit one note, I think that's kind of speaks to his brilliance. In fact, I didn't think he was on peak form and still beating guys that good. In my opinion, without any controversy. I know some people thought Kazane might deserve to win that fight. I wasn't amongst those people. Whereas Takeru, not too great against southpaws. Left hook, not as great a weapon against southpaws. Well, see it. Takeru's got to kind of spam the right body kick to try and move Tenshin over and get him towards that left hook. And I actually think Takeru's got a really good right hand as well. The left hook's obviously the killer, but let's not act like he can't punch at all with the right hand. Another way to try and move Takeru over towards the left. So the way I see it, and I'm sitting on the fence here, if Takeru wins this by knockout, or Tenshin wins this by decision. That's the way I see it. I see Masato said Tenshin's going to be really quick and catch Takeru and sort of hurt him, but I'm not so sure I see that myself. Even with the weight cut and the amount of wars he's had and the fact he's a bit older. I mean, Leona Pettis hurt Takeru, but Pettis can bang. I'm not concerned that Takeru is about to fall off a cliff physically and just get sparked out by Tenshin, like against a runner play or anything like that. So still think that Takeru is the more reliable in terms of durability and physicality. So and by all accounts, the weight cut shouldn't be too arduous. I'm not sure what the what's going to be like after the rehydration clause, but yeah, personally, I think Tenshin's going to win by decision, but Takeru will look decent at moments.
When you say decision, do you think it'll go 3 rounds, or do you think it's going to go to extension?
You never know, because you get these phantom extension rounds quite a lot. So I'm not sure. But
it is Japanese judging. Don't forget.
Yeah.
Listen, there are times where it's like, wait, that they have to go. I almost feel like sometimes that they just do it because it's like, oh, we can't make a decision, or they're enjoying the fight too much, so they want to see one more round.
That last thing you said, enjoying the fight too much. A lot of customers paying a lot of money. Biggest event in kickboxing history. I mean, certainly modern kickboxing history, and I think to an extent all of kickboxing history, even with those big Grand Prix we used to get when K1 was at the height of its powers. Still one of the biggest, and yeah, a lot of people here paying a lot of money, a lot of people watching at home, a lot of people excited. Let's give them another round. I can see it happening, but yeah, even then, I think the 4th round would favour Tenshin. So, yeah, it'd be interesting to see what they look like in the ring on the night. Although it'd be interesting just to see if they ever get to the ring on the night. You know what I mean? It's strange, such a strange scenario.
Oh, well, there's been so much bad luck following this card. I worry every time I wake up, like, what is there going to be what's the next piece of bad news that's going to happen? And God only knows when they ring the bell, and then suddenly they clash heads 10 seconds in. And
oh man. Yeah. You know what? It's the kind of thing that would happen. It's the kind of thing that would happen. It's the kind of thing that would happen, honestly. Yeah. Shorter southpaw versus taller orthodox, both barreling into each other. Yeah. Head clashes.
So the way that they're promoting this, that the match is being promoted, is it's both the end of an era, and the beginning of a new era. And so I'm curious to know, as somebody who does follow kickboxing much more than I do, when presuming that Takeru retires after this, and we know that Tenshin's going to boxing, who do you think can take up the mantle for the respective promotions, K1 and Rise, and can lead the new generation, the next generation, for the respective promotions? If anybody, if there,
it is tough for me. I've seen Kariev say that he thinks Kaneko might be able to for K1 and that. I don't know. I think both of these guys have been the only megastars. It's really tough to see how it will potentially play out. And I think I just need to see another 6 months of fights not involving these two to really sort of figure it out. But there's some really obviously talented fighters in both. A lot of them are on this card, on the match. Some of them not, which maybe we'll get into. But I think that it's strange because this should be a new dawn for kickboxing, the end of an era and a new one. But in some ways, for me, it seems very final because if Tenshin wins, goes off to boxing, he takes all that clout with him. If Takeru wins and then retires, takes all that clout with him as well to an extent. You know, you really want the winner of this to go, do you know what? I'm going to stay. I want Takeru to win, get all that shine on the sport. There needs to be a real passing of the torch. And whatever happens after this fight, the way I see it, the torch is just getting put out, the flame's getting put out. And I think it's going to be an amazing end of an era, the culmination of so many great fights and so many great moments. But again, I hate to be a pessimist about this, but as much as I like a lot of fighters in kickboxing, I don't see the next superstar. That's all. Not saying there can't be draws, not saying there can't be people that get fighters that people are interested in. I know I am. But on the Takeru or Tenshin level, it's hard because these fighters are so rare as it is.
And well, it looks like. Do you think one of the things about this fight is that it's not only just these two fighting, but I feel like Takeru, as you probably know, he said that his goal was to get K1 back on terrestrial television, and it looks like it was going to happen, but then the whole Fuji TV thing and all that didn't work out. And so it feels like Takeru is fighting for the promotion and for his ideas and beliefs and what he hopes kickboxing can be. And we got Tenshin, who's leaving kickboxing, who arguably became probably the biggest kickboxing star. And I don't know how, maybe I don't want to say comparing to Masato, but he's the closest one I can really honestly think of. So who's got more to lose in a loss? Is it Tenshin, who is going to leave kickboxing and wants to go into boxing and obviously wants to go in with a win, with some sort of momentum? Or is it Takeru, who by his loss would be it'll kind of be, all this effort, all my years of trying to bring K1 back up to where it was and not succeeding yet? Who do you think has more to lose?
Worst case scenario is if obviously Takeru's fighting for the sport of kickboxing rather than just himself. If, say for example, Rise forms to nearly a clean sweep on this card, I mean, it could be potentially disastrous for K1. It could be really bad. But it's Tenshin for me. He goes off with an undefeated record in the boxing, and suddenly he's getting a much bigger push than Takai or any of these guys that have gone over. In Japan, they don't tend to move kickboxing converts to boxing like they do in Thailand. Tenshin's very ambitious, and Tenshin is a popular fighter. And off the back of beating Takeru, oh my God, I mean, Tenshin, he could go into boxing and people would want him. He could have a couple of fights domestically, and the Japanese domestic scene for the kind of weight classes he'd be at is always stacked. You have a couple of fights there, top rank will be knocking. Go, do you know what? We could do double bills with him, and anyway, straight away. I think Tenshin's got a lot to lose individual. Let me put this the easiest way possible in a too long, didn't read kind of scenario. Tenshin's got more to lose as an individual, and Takeru's loss would be bad for the whole sport.
And actually, let's talk a little bit about the rest of the card. It is mostly Rise versus K1. What do you think about that whole thing? Because I initially didn't think they were going to do that. I'm kind of glad that it's kind of like promotion versus promotion. It feels like the stakes are much more higher with that.
Yeah, and even with Kaito, who's a shootboxing guy, he's fought for Rise before. I think even his most recent fight was for Rise against Bayanoa. So yeah, it's essentially Rise versus K1 all the way. For me, the way I explain it to people, and I've tried to explain it in a way that I thought younger people would understand, but it made me sound like more of a boomer. It's like the WWF versus WCW that I never got when I was a kid, and when it eventually happened, it was a nightmare. It was terrible. So that's what it feels like.
Don't give me bad memories of the invasion angle, man.
Exactly. Yeah, you know what I mean. The invasion was one of the reasons I stopped being a wrestling fan. It was so bad. But it's that kind of equivalent. So yeah, it's fantastic. Really happy for it. And they've said it might not be a one-time thing, but as I said, without a major star to headline, I don't think it'd be an annual thing. But I just hope for more cross collaboration between them both.
So what other fights? There's 16 fights on this card, and what other fights are you looking forward to the most? Besides,
well, I'm looking forward to Noiri versus Kaito. Kaito is a fight I actually wasn't all that familiar with recently, but watching a lot of his fights, he's really, really good. But the one I'm most looking forward to is Kaneko versus Suzuki. I just want to implore everyone to watch as much on these two guys as they can. If you asked me earlier, my potential like big stars for these would be up there. They're just two very extremely violent young men, and it's going to be superb. So that's the one. That's the main one. I want to implore everyone to check out, either live if we get the chance or post fight. But yeah, there's a lot of interesting ones on it, and obviously we'll go through the whole card beer for 5 hours. But anytime Noiri fights, he's just unbelievable. One of the best technicians pound for pound in the whole sport. And Kaito looks suitably violent to give Noiri a chance to paint another masterpiece. And yeah, Kaneko versus Suzuki, it's just going to be unbelievable. I think these guys, Kaneko's got more and more aggressive as of late, in my opinion. And Suzuki is just like this. He reminds me of like a kickboxing like Tommy Hearns. He's tall, he's lanky for the weight, and he just loves coming out and trying to destroy people. So yeah, for me, that's a real good one. That's what I tell you what. I said I need to see more fights to see who the next potential star could be. Maybe that fight's so good that the winner, you go, yeah, that's the guy. Mm-hmm. That's the one for me. So yeah, that's the main one. That's the one I'm most looking forward to.
What are your thoughts on that Yaman Ajizawa and that whole crazy thing?
Please, I'm with everyone else. Why are we wearing fucking MMA gloves, man? It does my head in. It really annoys me. I'm reliably informed that Ashizawa gets a lot of engagement on social media. I find him quite uninteresting, to be honest with you. As a fighter, Yaman is probably too good for it. There's a guy who could potentially do decent business to Rise as well. He's a strange guy, street fighter apparently, but he's also got a degree in architecture. So he's a bit of a strange fellow. But I love watching him fight. And the whole press conference thing. We spoke earlier about the idiosyncratic nature of Japanese business. Well, you wouldn't expect to see press conference brawls and stuff like that as well. So, sure, they've sold the fight. That's great. But consider me a stick in the mud. But never really like to see that sort of stuff. Save it for the ring is the way I say it. But, I like to see it settled. I think Yarman's going to take his head off.
Actually, you just remind me. I also want to ask you about for top retention. We got the rule with the rounds and time 3x3, 1 extension, 6-ounce gloves, no elbows. Rise rules. Are you happy with this, or are you not happy with how they structure this?
I'm fine. I just would have preferred more rounds. There's also the argument that they don't need more rounds. They're going to come out and pile all they can into 9 or 12 minutes. And that neither of them are really built for more rounds anyway. But, for me as a kickboxing fan, I've always, if you watch old fights from back in the day, you see they do 10, 12 rounds. Much like boxing. So I see no reason why we shouldn't go back to that. But I'm absolutely fine. Obviously, with the rise rules, you can catch a kick and punch back or whatnot, or kick back. So that's fine. There's no need for it. Both of them have had experience in full tie rules and whatnot and trained in it, but there's absolutely no need for any sort of extensive clinch work or anything like that. So yeah, I'm absolutely fine with the rules set and the rounds, no issues whatsoever.
Okay, yeah, because that was one of the big complaints I saw, because 3x3, possibility of a fourth. It feels like Takeru has been kind of a slow starter in his fights as well. The 6-ounce gloves, he has very fragile hands.
He does.
And so
he's gonna go there. He's gonna put it all on the line. I don't think he's gonna mind if he breaks his hand. Obviously, the longer the fight goes after a broken hand, the more chance you've got of it numbing up. I think it's Lennox Lewis who said that. I think he broke his hand against Mike Tyson, and they said, "Look, just wait out a little bit, and then your hand will feel numb, and you'll be able to start throwing it again." But so we haven't got that sort of thing here. But I think Takeru's gonna sort of throw everything into it, and I don't think he's too bothered about breaking his, as you say, brittle hands.
And so I got a few more minutes of you. I want to with this fight, as it's getting closer and closer, like, what are your overall feelings? Is it the idea, I always like to say that the idea of like a dream fight is great in theory, but sometimes the execution, sometimes the dream is better than the actual manifestation of it. Are you feeling, is there some sort of, are you getting, I guess, I thought about this actually earlier today. When the last Harry Potter movie came out, and I don't know if you saw all those YouTube videos of people like crying, saying that like this is kind of like the end of my childhood.
Same with Star Wars. Yeah.
Oh, Star Wars as well. Do you feel like this is kind of like, do you feel a little bit almost sad that that this fight is happening in a way, because
a bit sweet in a way.
Bittersweet, that's the word. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, no, I think it is the culmination of an era. I think it's important that the fight happens. I think I'd be a lot more sort of excited and happy if there wasn't any concern about whether I'd actually be able to see it live. If I knew for a fact I was able to log on, watch it with no problems. As it stands, I know I'm going to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning, be trying out numerous VPNs, possibly get immediately geo-blocked, and I would have wasted $40 and my morning and not be able to see the fight. Or be running around for a stream. So stuff like that does make me feel somewhat anxious. I'd be anticipating the fight a lot more if I don't have to worry about that. But we've sort of covered that already. No, as a fight and as an event, I think it's unbelievable. I think maybe I might feel a bit bittersweet after the fact when I see who wins or the fallout from it or how the fight went or or whatever. But going into it, pretty much nothing about the actual card itself, rather than the distribution and the broadcast. Nothing but positive thoughts.
Mm-hmm. Actually, I do want to ask about one more fight, and it's one of the fights that I am looking forward to most: Khan Nakamura versus Leona Pettis, because Khan Nakamura is a Osakan psychopath. I've always said that if you're a fighter from Osaka and you have tattoos, you got a little bit of screws in your head. And then obviously Leona Pettis, obviously K1 regular, and probably gave Takeru the most problems in a long time, at least in his K1 career, at least in his top as a top guy in K1. What do you think about this fight between these two unique individuals?
Both extremely violent, and I think Leona is going to get pissed off quite quickly, and it's going to devolve into a brawl quite quickly. So I'm going to favour Leona, but the thing with Leona is I'm not so sure how much that Takeru fight took out of him. I spoke earlier about, I'm not too concerned about Takeru's durability. I still think he's going to be fine. It's Leona that I'm concerned about. So I think I favour Leona pretty heavily, actually. But if he falls off on this night, it could prove pretty disastrous for him, because Nakamura can bang. And I think it's going to be I think you're right in anticipating that one. I think that's going to be a real fun one. But I'm leaning Leona. I think he's still think he's just a bit of a level above, to be honest with you. But if it gets to the point where he's not on top as he used to be, it could prove really bad for him. That's what's great about this. Every fight that's on this card, apart from that sort of the Yarman fight that I mentioned, you can kind of see an avenue to victory for both fighters. It's really well matched from top to bottom. Generally, apart from any heavier weight fights, I don't care. But just about the little dudes. I think it's brilliant, and that's definitely one I'm anticipating as well. I just love to watch Leonard Pettis fight.
It's kind of like the opposite of like when Rizin books some of their kickboxing fights, where it's like, oh, this guy is 20-1, and he's taking on the 0-0 local guy.
Oh yeah. Well, on MMA you do get your freak show fights, and you do get your what the fuck fights. But I'm happy to say on the match, it seems perfect from top to bottom.
So I want to ask any final thoughts you have on the match, Takeru, Tenshin, or anything regarding, this entire, this mega fight, the mega card, I'll say, of a show.
Well, what I want to say is, people, as much as I've sort of said it's going to be a nightmare trying to watch this fight, set your clocks, set your alarms, get up, get online, get on Twitter, see what people are saying, send some DMs, do whatever you can to try and watch it. I'll understand if you don't want to persist, if it gets too frustrating, if streams keep failing, but this card has to be watched. And I hope for those that aren't already kickboxing fans, MMA centric fans that follow your show, please give it a go, because J-Kick deserves as many eyes on it as possible. It is, kickboxing internationally is great, but the Japanese scene's fantastic, and this event for me is the best combat sports event in a very long time. And the match, as they call it, Tenshin versus Takeru, it's the fight of not this year but of many years. I said about Mayweather Pacquiao earlier. The only sort of fights which have come close to that since would be fights that haven't happened yet: Errol Spence versus Bud Crawford, Tyson Fury versus Alexander Usyk. We just haven't had anything like that, and I think this is it. Tenshin versus Takeru. This is the big one. This is the super fight, the 2 pound for pound superstars. So do everything, beg, steal, or borrow, as they say. Do whatever you can to watch this card, and if you can't watch the card, please try and watch the match itself, because the main event is so important to all combat sports.
And where can people follow you and keep up with everything that you're doing?
So Combat Chronicles is on all major podcast formats. You can find it Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever you want to find it. There is a Patreon element as well. I would suggest that people check out the free podcast before they even think about looking at that. I'm not begging. I just want to see if people like it. You can get bonus content on the Patreon, which I'll advertise on the podcast if you want to give it a listen. I'm not going to advertise it here. But Twitter, you can hit me up on Twitter at Combat CHR. The O is a 0, so it's C0MBATCHR. And come and talk to me about combat sports. I've been doing it talking about it for a long time, since 2008, 2009, since I was still a teenager. Well, no, actually 2007, I think, is when I first got involved in the online combat sports community. So plenty of different topics to talk about, and I'm more than happy to speak to anyone that's respectful and just up for a laugh and up for a good chat. So hit me up on Twitter, and if you like what I do there, maybe you might check out the podcast.
Yes, and I'll be there with you. Well, I won't be there. It won't be 4 a.m. for me. It'll probably be like 1 a.m. or something for me. But
now what we fans feel like over here. If we have to watch boxing or UFC, we're always up in the dead of night. You know what I mean?
I always say same thing with pro wrestling. Whenever I was, whenever it's like a WWE show or AEW show, I would just see, UK here getting up at like 4 a.m.
4 a.m.
to watch it, and the Rizin K1 Rise, starting at 1 a.m. till 6 a.m. Oh, that's, I know what you guys go through now when like your nights / early mornings are like being destroyed because of the need to watch people punch each other in the face.
It's the next day for me now. I'm at that age where, like, if I do it, the next day is just untenable. I'm ill for a couple of days afterwards. I'm in my mid-30s now, so when I get to stay up and watch events, it's great. By the time the main events come round, I've got one eye open, I'm struggling to keep it open, and then by the time I've might be overtired, might not get to bed till late, but by the time late is in really early morning, and by the time I wake up, I feel like absolute crap, and then the whole day's a write-off. So luckily for this one, beautiful early Sunday morning, wake up, bowl of cereal, get a coffee, and hopefully the stream works fine.
You gotta do what they did to Malcolm McDowell and Clockwork Orange. You gotta have to hook up your eyes and like put eye drops so you don't.
Actually, it wasn't Malcolm McDowell. It was Malcolm McDowell with Clock Orange, but they also did it to me when I had laser eye surgery, so I know what that feels like.
Oh, I'm sorry.
They do exactly the same thing. And when they were doing it, I said to the lady, like, "This is just like a Clockwork Orange," and she's like, "I don't know what you're talking about." So, okay, just carry on and do your job. Yeah, it's exactly that. So yeah, I don't want to have to do that again. But if I have to for certain events, to be honest with you, I didn't. When at the time of recording, obviously, this is the night after the Jiri Prahaka versus Glover Tech Zero fight. I woke up and watched that this morning, what I call relive, which is I don't log onto Twitter. I just go straight on the app and watch the card. And I think I would have struggled immensely if I'd stay up to watch that. So I'm really happy that next weekend's card is at a reasonable time.
Mm-hmm. And please follow Combat Chronicles on Twitter and keep up with everything that they're doing through Patreon, Stitcher, and listen to them on Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, everything. Every
it's on all of them. It's on all of them.
It's on all of them. So please give them a follow. And appreciate your time, Kyle. Really do. And
no, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. It was really fun. Thank you so much.
Oh, recorded. All right.
We are with Anna Banana, longtime listener or viewer, and I'm very happy to talking to you for the first time ever.
Hi, Andrew. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me this time.
And thank you for also for your support.
Yep.
And I gotta ask.
I always enjoy your shows, actually.
Oh, it's always appreciated when people from all around the world, whether it be Russia, Poland, Japan, wherever, people too.
Yeah. First time I show your podcast, and I was surprised, like, oh wow, there's Gaikokujin. There's foreign people who talks about Japanese combat sports. Wow, I was surprised like that.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of us gaijin that love kakutogi. We love kakutogi. Sorry, I use the word gaijin. I use the word gaijin. I know it's considered offensive, but I prefer the term gaijin.
Oh yeah.
Right. I gotta ask your thoughts on Takeru versus Tenshin, the match. How happy are you that it's finally happening?
Yeah. Basically, of course, I'm really looking forward this bout, and I think that Tenshin and Takeru, they were talking about this fight like 5 years or so, and yeah, Japanese fans, things finally happens, and yeah, me personally, of course, I'm looking for this fight, but also the match to 2022 itself is a big event for the Japanese combat sports scene. So I basically look for all the cards which happens in that event.
So this nay. Who do you think, Dare, who do you think will be the winner?
Oh, who's gonna be the winner? Yeah, that's a good question. But yeah, well, let's say I really hope Tenshin wins. That is because sorry, I don't know much about technical things, but why I think so, because I am always closer to Rise promotion, because actually, I live in Indonesia right now, but previously in Japan, I practiced kickboxing in a gym called Hayato Gym, which is located in Tokyo. And this gym, Hayato Gym, has some fighter who fight in Rise promotion. And that's why I went to watch the Korakuen, to see the professional fights of Rise promotion. And that's why I had some opportunity to see Tenshin in front of me, and wow, so I became Tenshin fan. That's why I hope Tenshin will win.
Does it feel like the end of an era with this fight, and with them finally fighting, and probably Tenshin going into boxing, and Takeru probably retire after this match? Does it feel like it's the end of this era of kickboxing?
No, totally not, because as I mentioned in the beginning, there's different cars, of course. There's a bunch of exciting cars. And this is rather beginning of the kickboxing. And I'm not sure Takeru will resign. Maybe he will resign from K1, but maybe he would go to another promotion. I'm not sure about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, dozo.
Oh, yeah. That was it.
Okay. I know that one of the things that we know about you, that you're a big Ogawa show fan. You like Ogawa show.
Of course.
And Osaki brothers
Osaki,
from
Kazuki brothers.
Are you
Yes.
are you kind of disappointed they didn't get a spot? They didn't get a match on the card.
Yeah, you get the point. Actually, I was really hoping that Kazuki Osaki it was on the card, and he was also hoping that so. Because as we all know, Kazuki Osaki is the Rise champion of the class of 53 kg, but Rise actually selected Kazane instead of Kazuki. And actually, I watched Rise numbered series where Kazuki Osaki previously fought. That was, I think, March 2022. And he said that he wanted to fight against Nadaka Yoshinari in that event, in the match. But it didn't happen. So yeah, you get the point. I'm quite sad about it.
But what about Ogawa show? Because you listen. You're the reason why you posted our little thing. We said that he had the best finish of that Rizin show. And he
the
saw it.
Previous Rizin show, right? Yeah. You're right. Yeah. Actually, I would be happy if I see Koki Osaki Ogawa show in the match, of course. But maybe Sho Senshu Ogawa show wouldn't be in that card because he's not the champion at this point. And actually he how can I say, he didn't have many wins in the Rise promotion. So maybe I'm sad, but it's logical to not have him in that card.
Gotcha.
Yes?
Other than Tenshin Takeru, is there one other fight you look forward to in this on the match 2022?
Yep. Basically all the cards. I look for all the cards, but if I have to pick one, that's gonna be Kazane and Toma Kuroda, because as I mentioned before, I'm a big fan of Kazuki Osaki, and since now he is not on the cards, I have to really look forward to the same class, 53 kg class, who would win.
What about also? I think also Shiro. He's also part of that weight class as well, I believe, right? 50.
Yeah.
He's also fighting as well. I forgot his opponent's name. It just exited out of my head. But Shiro also on this card as well.
Yeah. Yep. But I think he's gonna fight under 55 kg this time now.
Oh, he is. Oh, okay. You have to forgive me. Kilograms, I forget because I'm American and I forget.
Oh yeah. yeah, because of course you're right, because previously there's a tournament in Rise promotion. Previously Kazane and Shiro fought, and that was under 53 kg. Yeah, but Shiro usually, I think he fights usually 55 kg, but he how can I say, cut the weight for that tournament.
I'm also curious to know as well. Are you disappointed there's no Joshi on the card? No.
Oh right. Yeah.
Are you surprised that they didn't get like a Momaka Panchan Rina, or I know that K1 has their tournament the week after this, but it's just I'm surprised they didn't put some one of the people from Rise and maybe Kana Wolf. Yep. What's her name? I forgot. Kana from
pink hair, right?
Yes. Yeah, I'm surprised. Were you surprised that there's not like one woman's fight?
Yeah, you're right. In order to have diversity, it's you're right. It's totally a lack of diversity when they don't have Joshi fights. But at the same time, I'm sorry to say that, but at the same time, a little bit understandable, because how can I say? To be honest, sometimes, especially Rise promotion, Joshi fights, they are lack of downs and KOs. They don't finish that much. Well, for example, compared to UFC, for example, they have many Joshi fights, female fights, but they finish. They KO. They do submission. But as for Rise, just lack of finishing, right?
Yeah. So no. You're correct. A lot of them don't finish just because tiny weight class. It's a very small weight class. Usually. Yep. I'm curious to know, did you see the whole thing that happened with Yaman and Ashizawa at the press conference?
Yeah. That was funny to watch. Did you see the conference?
Yes, I did. That was the thing that went viral. That was the thing that people were talking about, was Yaman and Ashizawa almost having their fight at the press conference.
Oh. that was funny.
Yeah.
Because I think in the real world, I think both of them are good people in the real world. But in that conference, they try to look like a gangster, try to look like bad boys, and like Yaman, he looked for the timing where he starts quarreling. That was funny. Yeah.
You did say you're in Indonesia, so I'm curious to know, are you going to be able to watch the match live, or because of no international streaming, are you going to be shut out?
I think I'm gonna purchase PPV, pay-per-view, and I can watch this because I think I can connect with VPN, right?
Yes. Well, some people have said that Abima block the VPN sometimes. I don't know for this one.
Oh, really?
But you're not the first one you're gonna be one of quite a few who are gonna be using a VPN. But
because previously Abima usually have one championship streaming, right?
Yeah.
But previously where Rotan and DJ fought, that was a PPV.
Yes.
And I purchased that PPV and I could watch that one using VPN.
Oh, okay. I mean,
so that's why I really hope that I can watch the match.
Yes.
With live.
Oh, same thing over here. We're hoping the same thing all the way here in the United States and in Europe and anywhere. But actually, I want to ask, how do you feel that, like, as somebody who is Japanese but is who is living outside Japan? What do you think that the whole thing that they're just having that there's no legal way to watch the show? Is that something? Is that just that's always been an issue of like Japanese like media coming over to overseas, whether it's anime, movies, kaiju eiga. There's always been this it's always been this hesitation to distribute internationally. And how do you feel about what it looks like Abima, this decision that Abima made, that we're not going to allow it to be shown internationally legally?
Of course, that's pity, right? Because this time the match lost two opportunities. One is the topic of Fuji TV.
Oh, yes.
They lost how can I say, the light fans who don't purchase pay-per-view. And the second one is, as you mentioned, Gaikokujin who lives foreign country. They lost those opportunities. But I think it's not only how can I say, that's a business, so they think about their budgeting. Maybe they are not enough. They didn't have enough budget. I don't know. I really don't know. But having Sakakibara-san with them, and Rizin itself has a successful story with pay-per-view. So maybe it's really pity that they don't have international streaming.
So what? Who do you think can be, if there's anybody, the next? Who do you think can take over? Can the torch can be passed to after Tenshin? If Takeru does retire from kickboxing, and then Tenshin going to pro boxing, who do you think can be the next big Shuyaku for their promotions?
Oh, for that promotions. Oh my God.
If there's anybody, if there's anybody who could be the Shuyaku.
For Rise, of course, next Shuyaku would be Haraguchi, who will fight against Yamazaki this time.
Yep.
Yeah, and Shiratori maybe from the same gym from Japan. That's gonna be for Rise, and I really hope Kazuki Osaki would also be the Shuyaku for the Rise promotion, of course. And yeah, I'm not really into K1 to be honest, but maybe Ampo Rukia makes noise this time. Really, yeah.
That's the name that people say is Ampo Rukia, because he's got actually a big SNS following, I believe. He's got a lot of followers on Twitter, and he's always having. I hear what I was told. The next big kickboxing match would be Anpo Rukia versus Hiramoto Ren, if they ever had that.
Oh, really? Does that happen?
If that could be the next Tenshin Takeru. That's what I was told when I've been talking to people about this for this program.
Yeah, Ren Hiramoto. I also check Ren's Twitters and Instagram. Before the cards was announced, Ren Hiramoto was saying that, maybe I would fight against Ampo. But but at the same time, Ren Hiramoto wants to really concentrate on his MMA career. And I really hope to see Ren Hiramoto on UFC.
Yeah.
So
that'll be great. That'd be great. He has the attitude. He has the energy. He's not boring. He's a very charismatic. Very charismatic.
Yes. Yeah. Agree. So that's why or I hope that fight between Ren Hiramoto and Ampo does not happen.
I see. Okay.
That's gonna be interesting, but I want Hiramoto to concentrate on MMA career.
And actually, I'll ask you about one other Rise fighter who's fighting the card, who I'm really looking forward to. That's Nakamura Ken. What do you think about
Kan Nakamura?
Excuse me, sorry, Nakamura. Kan Nakamura. What do you think about him as a kickboxer?
He will fight against
Riona Pettis.
Oh, Riona Pettis. Yeah, right. Kan Nakamura, he looks, how can I say, quite wild, huh?
Yes. He's like, he got all the tattoos. He's like Inagaki.
Irezumi.
Yes. He's
tattoos, right? Yeah, Irezumi.
Yes. Yeah, because if you want to talk about somebody who's also a very very fiery personality, he's very much one as well.
Yeah, he's so wild.
Mm-hmm.
And last time he fought against Kita,
Kitai.
Kitai, yes. Kitai, Mr. Kitai. Nakamura. I saw the fight against Kitai, and he's wild, he's fiery, but on the ring, he's also, how can I say, he's also calm. He sees the timing where he throw his cross punch. So yeah, that's also one of the cards I am really looking forward to.
When this I'm sorry, I'm trying to think of how to frame the question. If when it comes down to Tenshin Takeru, do you foresee it being a knockout win for Tenshin, or do you think it'll go either 3, San, or Yon, or rounds?
Oh, of course, what I expect is finishing, and how's gonna be? Maybe Tenshin is very. It's very difficult question. Actually, yesterday I watched a YouTube channel from Kenji Osawa. He's previous MMA fighter. He runs his own gym. He said that Tenshin will finish Takeru by KO, by high kick in the second round.
Okay.
And I am really hoping to see that.
A lot of people have picked Tenshin. I think Aoki Shinya, I think, also picked Tenshin, if I remember correctly. And I think Masato as well. Masato. As well, to be the winner.
But I hear that Kenji Osawa, he saw a Bima channel, and 70% of the 70% people thinks Takeru out of the questionnaire, I think.
And a lot of people
I am quite surprised about it.
I can't explain it. I could definitely tell you a lot of Gaikokujin kick fans are picking Takeru. A lot of them are on Takeru's side. And what I've heard is that Takeru is more personable, relatable. Feel that they like that they like his passion for kickboxing. And also when he would talk about how he's fighting for the sport and fighting for his promotion, fighting to get back on terrestrial television. They found it very inspiring and hopeful. So that's why they're leaning towards soccer. But there's people for Tenshin. Don't get me wrong, there's people that are for Tenshin as well.
All right. I'm not very into technical thing, but many people also say that the rules of gloves or weight, those rules are a bit advantageous for Tenshin. So maybe
well, Anna, I know I got a few more minutes of you. The last question I'll have for you, last thought is, any last thoughts that you want to say about this Takeru Tenshin match or the rest of the match 2022? Floor is yours. Dozo.
Oh, yeah. As I mentioned before, I am really looking forward to see all the cars. I really hope I'll be able to watch via VPN pay-per-view show. I really want to watch this live, and I'm really looking for the cards.
Yeah, and if you want people to follow you, Do you want to? You could give out your Twitter if you'd like to. If you like to.
Oh, yeah. I have Twitter account with the name Anna and banana emojis. So yeah, please follow me.
And
Let's
Anna,
talk about it.
thank you so much for your time. And thank you for being a listener, follower, watcher,
Yep.
supporter of all kind. I still feel humbled when I know that when I get told when people tell me that they're on the other side of the world and they watch us and enjoy what we do. It humbles me and makes me feel very happy to know that.
I am really a big fan of your show, so it's a huge honor that you had me for this time. Thank you very much, Andrew.
Arigatou gozaimasu.
Arigatou gozaimashita. Thank you so much.
And we are with Jay, Christian, Gary from a little podcast known as the We Are Rizin Podcast, and also from the newly revamped and rejuvenated and maybe back from the dead Focus Fights.
Thanks for having me, my podcast co-conspirator.
And so, well, I'm going to ask it outright. How are you feeling now that the match, Takeru versus Tenshin, finally happening?
I'm happy that Takeru versus Tenshin is finally happening. It's just the fact that I was hoping that this wouldn't feel like Floyd versus Pac-Man, where they would basically be coming in late into their primes.
Well, I don't think that Tenshin's not that old. I mean, Takeru's a little bit older, but I don't feel this is like, I mean, they have miles on them, but I mean, it could be one of the worst circumstances, I would say.
True. I mean, to be honest, these are two fighters who are obviously young and wise beyond their years, but you have to think about it. Aside from, losing to Floyd Mayweather in an exhibition, not a lot of people know about Tenshin. And clearly, nobody's really heard of Takeru at all unless you're a diehard kickboxing fan.
So, prediction. Who do you think is going to win, and how do you think this fight goes?
If I'm wise about this, and I know this is going to piss a lot of people off, but I think because we followed him so much over the last 4 years, considering the fact that we've been following him for the last 5 years, because he made his Rizin debut on New Year's Eve 2017. Well, New Year's Week 2017. I'm going to go ahead and say that Tenshin wins this. But I think it'll probably be, if not by finish, by decision. Because a lot of people are probably not going to be happy about this fight. They're probably already not happy because it's a 3-minute round fight. But I do think that Tenshin has that type of advantage of maintaining the dominance across 3 rounds.
So what about, do you think it potentially goes into the extension round?
Oh, are we doing this like K1?
Yeah, they're doing one extension round if it's ruled a draw.
Oh, well, in that case, when it comes to the extension round, anything goes, right?
Yeah. Well, I think I'm assuming that if it goes extension, there must be a winner declared. No draw shit. At least that's what I'm hoping. I hope it doesn't go that route.
Nah, in that case, I'm kind of hoping that it doesn't go to an extension round, because we all know Tenshin's probably gonna fold under pressure.
So so how do you think? Do you think this fight is going to be as soon as that bell rings? Do you think they're going to go right at it? Do you see them almost kind of like, or do you think it's going to be like they're going to have like, the pro wrestling thing, like whenever like Hogan and not Hogan and Michaels. Actually, yeah, it was Hogan Michaels or Hogan the Rock. Where they just take a moment to realize that we're actually here and this is happening. Do you think that can potentially happen?
I think they might do that during the fighter introductions. when they happen before the fight, that they'll just take a moment to bask in the admiration of the crowd, knowing that they got 60,000 people in the palm of their hand. But after that bell rings for the first round, I think they're going to go right down to business. No feeling out process or anything. They're just going to go right at it right until the final bell.
Mm. I know you picked Tenshin. What do you think that Tenshin will be, where his strengths will be against Takeru?
Power, most likely.
Sorry,
we've seen him fight before. Dude has plenty of power.
Even though he hasn't really knocked out, he hasn't finished anybody in kickboxing in quite a while.
Oh, yeah, that is true. I mean, he hasn't finished anybody in kickboxing in quite a while, but the dude has plenty of power to maintain, himself in a 3-round fight.
Now, listen, I want to ask also, what is the significance? Why is this fight important to you? We talked about it many times on our podcast. Remember, we used to always do we always used to have is this person worthy of Tenshin? When we did the K-Fest back in 2020, the last show before COVID shut down Japan.
Come to think of it, K-Fest 2020 was the last show before everything.
Oh yeah,
in the sports world shut down.
Yeah, and we would have on various guests like JM Factor and others. Discuss. Hey, do you want to see Tenshin Takeru? Do you think it'll ever happen? So I ask you, what is the significance and importance of this fight happening to you?
Well, I think the significance and importance of this fight can only jot down to one thing, and that is progression. Because let's just say, if this draws a good enough interest for people talking about it, not just in Japan, but around the world, even though most of the world outside of Japan can't see this fight, if it goes viral, if people have enough interest to give a damn about it, then that will show that even though Japanese combat sports has its struggles, people will definitely pay more attention to it. But if this is all a dud, and it all basically stems on the undercard in this favor, if this becomes a dud, I don't think that people will think of Japanese combat sports outside of professional wrestling in any way as new Coke, so to speak. And you're older than me by like 5 years, so you remember new Coke.
Yeah, no, I unfortunately do. Never drank it though, but there's a reason why it failed.
Yeah, of course. But still, the reason why I say that is because everybody was basically trying to see this as the fight of the century. But if the undercard doesn't do well and this fight doesn't do well, people are going to call this a giant flop in front of 60,000 people. When I don't think that, as fight fans, as global fight fans, not just particularly fight fans who happen to be in the United States, we would want to review that with a good conscience,
I also might as well just get the elephant out of the room. No international distribution. Looks like it was a Bemis call. What do you think about this whole thing? And how disappointed are you? How disappointed, angry, sad, upset, all the what's it called? The 6 stages of grief or something?
Really?
Seven stages of grief have you gone through?
I think I basically reached the final one, and that is acceptance. Because I accept the fact that, this won't be shown internationally. So that means we won't get a chance to see, unless we're really sneaky, so to speak, we won't get a chance to see Tenshin and Takeru shine in front of 60,000 people. But it also means that a lot of people in and out of Japan will be able to bask in, the excitement of this fight. and maybe later when other things happen. But still, point of the matter is, I accept the fact that a lot of people won't be able to watch this because I am one of those people that won't be watching it. Well, live, that is. But I do hope that this fight becomes great to the point where people in and out of Japan are talking about this, if not for years, then definitely for a long time to come.
And I guess if you had a message for whichever BEMA executive or whoever it was who decided to put the clamp down on the international streaming, do you have anything? Would you say anything to that person or to those persons?
If I can be really frank, even though I know your name is Andrew, still, if I can be really honest, and I don't want to curse too much because I'm supposed to act professional, but if I can say anything to those BEMA executives, it would have to be fuck you. Because basically, y'all fucked over everybody around the world that's trying to watch this. And just like y'all been fucking over people trying to watch Rise and K1 for 5 years. And the fact that we can't watch this event, we being those outside of Japan can't watch this event without having to sneak through a VPN or anything like that, it's bullshit. Because basically we have just as much an opportunity to enjoy something as magical as this as just about every other fight fan around the world. And for them to basically geo-block this and make it exclusive to those make it exclusive to those only in Japan without having to jump through hoops and all that shit, it's disgraceful. Because it basically means that we, as fight fans, we can't see everything, obviously. But it basically tells your international fans that y'all ain't worth shit. And it basically tells us, the international fight fans, that if you want to find something great to watch, you're going to have to find it somewhere else. So yeah, fuck you, BEMA, because you're basically fucking us all over, and not in a good way.
You did say that before we went on the air that you are not going to watch it live. Is that correct?
I'm not going to watch it live, plain and simple. I probably might not watch it at all.
Well, anything that could change that? Anything that you could just decide, hey, you know what? I don't know, maybe day of or something like, or somebody, finds a, shall we say, unique way to watch it?
I mean, I wouldn't mind a unique way of watching it. It's just the fact that it's going to feel different compared to, let's just say it's like, and I know you probably have more experience at this than I do, but it's like cheating on your girlfriend with somebody hotter.
Well, I don't know if I would say I have more experience cheating on my girlfriends. I hope. No.
I mean, that's understandable, but still, though, it's like basically, it's like, what am I trying to say? It's like feeling like you've done something wrong when you know it's supposed to be right.
God, I see what you're saying. No, I get it. So let's talk about the rest of the card. What other fights are you looking forward to?
I mean, to tell you the truth, I'm only looking forward to the fights that feature Taiji Shiratori, Sima Karamian, and Beinoa, because we talked about these three particular fighters before, so we know exactly what to expect when it comes down to those three.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Plus, with Sina Carminian. How do you pronounce his last name? Sorry, I'm very bad with his.
It's Karamian or Karamian. I don't know. Basically, it's best to pronounce him by his first name, Sima.
Yeah. Isn't it also great that we're getting some heavyweight kickboxing in there as well, since it's such
a heavyweight
rare occurrence?
Heavyweight kickboxing is definitely everybody's jam, so to speak. But I do think that we need more of that.
What about with Yaman? Because you remember that whole thing with the press conference, that whole debacle, right?
Yeah, I remember Ren Sugiyama basically attacking. Well, actually, who is his opponent again?
Oh no, Yaman. Yeah, Yaman going after his opponent. Apologize, I'm drawing a blank. My brain is like.
It's okay. It's okay. Our brains are pretty much fried to a crisp.
So Ashizawa. Sorry, we'll say Ashizawa.
Oh yeah, I've seen when Sugiyama attacked Ashizawa.
Yaman.
Yeah, I know. I just go by real names when it comes down to these fighters. I don't really fall for the alias stuff. But still, though, when I saw Yaman attack Ashizawa and seeing those security guards try and leap after him, I mean, it's like, where did they learn this from? Have they been watching too many press conferences from this side of the Pacific?
Mm-hmm. What about any other people? Like, I know you love Bainoa. We talked about Bainoa before. We got everybody's favorite shit talker, Kan Nakamura, as well.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I can't wait to see if I do end up watching this card. But I can't wait to see what Kan Nakamura does, because we've seen him compete in Rizin before.
Do you think this potentially can be one of the best kickboxing shows of all time? Maybe up there with like some of the what was it, the K1 heavyweight Grand Prix that had Crow Cop and Mark Hunt?
Well, I wouldn't say it would be up to that particular level, because many people still say that those old K1 shows from back in the day, from the late 90s and obviously through the 2000s and into the 2010s with the FEG Global Gang, those are like God tier shows. I don't think that this show will be at that particular level, but I do think that if there's enough interest in the undercard and the main event, it will definitely be close.
What's the worst outcome that could happen with this main event once the bell rings?
Oh, the worst outcome wouldn't be with the main event. The worst outcome would be with the undercard, considering if all those fights go to a decision and this main event underperforms, then we're gonna be into some knee-deep shit.
I know that we're not so much into the kickboxing world, but if you have any names, this show is being promoted as the end of an era, end of a generation, but also the start of a new one. Do you have anybody that you can think of, either for K1 and or Rizin that could be potentially the next kickboxing stars to lead the next generation?
To be honest, and I know I'm sounding one-sided when it comes down to this, but I think that the main people that could possibly be stars off of this is Taiju Shiratori and Bainoa. Mostly because of the fact that even though Bainoa obviously is half African-American, half Japanese, he has that star power. And of course, we all know Taiju Shiratori's got star power. I mean, he basically reigned on Tiger's Parade last time out in the Grand Prix. Or was it Koji's Parade?
Taiju, no, it was Koji. It was Koji that he.
Yeah. He basically reigned on Koji's Parade and basically made that Grand Prix of Koji's his Grand Prix. So basically, I can definitely see Taiju Shiratori taking that star power from being in Tenshin shadow to being one of the top stars in the world, if the world sees him more.
Actually, speaking of Koji, are you surprised? Are there any names that you're surprised that didn't make it onto the show?
Outside of Koji and Taiga and Hiroya and Hinata Watanabe, I don't think so. Because obviously there was only going to be a certain amount of stars to be on the show anyways. Oh, and Tetsuya, who's that guy that won the world title in Lion Fight and then won the world title in K1?
Oh Christ. Boy.
Yamato, Tetsuya Yamato.
Actually, what about also? Did you know that there was also a lack of women's
Oh, don't even get me started. I mean, I know K1 really shouldn't be held to the flames because of this, because they don't really have much of a women's division anyways. But Rise/Rizin should definitely be at fault for not bringing any women's fights to the table. They know better.
So what do you think of the whole K1 versus Rise? Well, most of the fights are K1 versus Rise with a few freelancers and shoot boxing in there. What do you think of this, of the whole structure of the card, kind of doing like, promotion versus promotion?
I mean, to be honest, I think it's just like brand warfare. Like, obviously, we're wrestling fans, so we know what the term brand warfare was. We're not naive to this, so to speak. But basically, it's just like showing whose brand is better, Even though it's really not showing much at all if you don't have the world champions of either promotion facing off against one another or defending their titles on this show.
Well, that's the other thing as well. Since there is no title between Takeru and Tenshin at this moment, I don't think they're going to have one. Well, remember when Mayweather Pacquiao, they kind of made like just a special title for that occasion?
Oh yeah, of course. Same thing goes for the Charlo twins. Same thing goes for Fury versus White that just passed about a few months ago.
Mm-hmm.
Special titles all around. But still, what's the point of making a special title like it's the damn WBC when this fight is special all its own? It don't need no title belt being passed around if it's just for a trophy.
Mm-hmm. This might be a heavy question, and if you don't have an answer, you think it's both of them, I can understand. Who do you think has more to lose in a loss? We got Tenshin, who's going to boxing, that's more or less confirmed. Takeru seems to most likely. I don't know if he's going to be doing any more kickboxing after this. Might just retire altogether. That's what he's been hinting at and saying. Who do you think has more to lose?
To be honest, I would say both of them, because if this fight becomes a dud, it's going to stain both of their reputations. But I do think in the case of a devastating loss, like if it ends via knockout or TKO, if Tenshin loses, you might as well throw that boxing career in the trash or be like Kiyotaro Fujimoto and fight basic run-of-the-mill jobbers only to lose to guys like Daniel Dubois. Because if Tenshin loses this fight via TKO, he is not going to have a decent boxing career. He may as well get ready to fight Cans in Mexico or Cans in Manila for all I care, because he's not going to get the proper star power that he'll get in this side of the country. I mean, in this side of the world, in the United States, other than being the guy that Floyd knocked out in an exhibition. And when it comes down to all the hype that he's getting, especially from us, that'll die down. Because basically Tenshin knew the assignment, as the young folks like to say. He knew the assignment going into this win at any cost. If he loses via TKO, you can kiss all the momentum that he's had over the last 7 years goodbye. Because I think that if he loses via TKO, ball game, his career over. His fighting career is over. Mm-hmm. And as far as Takeru goes, I know he's only had one appearance in Rizin. A lot of his kickboxing work has been done in K1. If he loses via TKO, he has no shame. All he's going to have is the pride of K1 behind him, and he's going to have plenty to gain for K1 after this. But yeah, Tenshin's got a whole hell of a lot to lose if he loses via knockout.
And so do you ever think this will ever happen again? Like a big show like this down the line? Do you foresee, a K1 versus Rise show again? Or I don't know. Does it feel like all these too many cooks in the kitchen, too many egos at play, and this is kind of like everybody just throwing their eggs in a basket because as coronavirus, we're losing money because whatever. So let's just work together this one time and all that stuff. Don't forget, at one point, Rizin and K1 were suing each other at one point.
I think that if push comes to shove, this will be like a never before, never again type of scenario. But still, though, if all goes according to plan, if this becomes a success, I can definitely see this being like what K1 and Pride were, the old K1, FEG K1, and Pride were back in 2002 when they did Shockwave / Dynamite. And I know we're coming up on the 20th anniversary of that, but it can be like one of those shows where they just do it concurrently. Mm-hmm. But if this becomes, a giant dud, don't expect these three entities to pop back up again, because the fact that they're suing each other, the fact that it took them this much only for this show not to be shown internationally is worse. But if this show, drops dead, so to speak, as in decisions all around and the main event sucks, don't expect them to do this again, because this is just too much work gone to waste.
Mm-hmm. So as we come to an end with this segment, I want to ask you, what is it that you hope that the match accomplishes, that Takeru, Tenshin, or just the entire show accomplishes for combat sports?
I hope it accomplishes the fact that Japanese combat sports still exist, even though Rizin has done its part, Rise done its part, K1, the current K1 post FEG has done its part. But I really hope that when it comes down to this show, it can show, even though it's not going to be shown to international fans, obviously, if this does become a success, I hope it can show the international fight fans that, hey, this is the type of stuff that can put asses in seats. This is the type of stuff that can give a lot of people hope that, if you can do all you can, if you can say that you want to put out, if you can say that you want to put a show that can put a whole lot of entities together and give a lot of people hope, be like Tenshin, be like Takeru, but just don't half-ass it. That's all I can say about that. But still, I just hope that this show becomes successful, even though this won't be shown internationally.
So where can people see what you're doing and follow you and all that stuff?
You know what? Why do you have to catch me on a day where we're not doing the We Are Rizin podcast? I could have just played for you that Lenny Hart sound clip like crazy. But yes, of course, if you're not checking out the We Are Rizin podcast, why aren't you? We're on YouTube, and hopefully if we get our stuff together, you can check us out on Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcast of choice. Hold on one second. Sorry, dry throat. But yeah, also you can find me at Chris Gary 92 on Twitter, at Christian Gary 92 on Instagram. You can also check me out via Focus Fights Audio, which is available on just about every podcast platform there is. New episodes coming out bi-monthly, maybe bi-weekly if I'm not that lazy enough to get off my rear end and do something. But yeah, also Focus Fights World. It's available online. It's available now. It's fully revamped. We just launched our second article, which hopefully UFC fans and Rizin fans can enjoy. It's about all of the Rizin fighters that joined the UFC so far and the grades that myself and King CeeLo, my co-contributor, gave toward the fighters. So, please feel free to check that article out. But still though, Andrew, I mean, it's rare that we talk outside the podcast, but, thanks for having me on. Hopefully the match coming up June 19th, live on a Beamer pay-per-view, can more than deliver.
I think that's what we're all hoping. We're all hoping two things. One, it does, and two, that we can find this fucking show and watch it.
Exactly. But other than that, even if I'm not looking forward to it, I'm definitely looking forward to the aftermath.
Oh, yes, because whichever team loses will probably, unfortunately, have a meltdown on social media.
Oh, yeah. They and their fans,
yeah.
Even if most of us can't understand them.
Exactly. And now we're on to the next